Before the arrival of European settlers to the region, New South Wales was home to the indigenous Wiradjuri people. Living in scattered villages throughout the region, the Wiradjuri were a peaceful race of Aboriginal people, relying on farming, fishing, and hunting to survive. In the early 1800s, European settlers began making their way into the region now known as New South Wales, which is located along the southeastern coast of Australia. The peaceful Wiradjuri welcomed the newcomers and even shared their food, resources, and knowledge of the land with them. Since then, New South Wales has grown rapidly and is now the economic and cultural center of Australia. It is also home to the city of Sydney, the largest and most prosperous city in the country. Located 200 miles east of Sydney is the picturesque small town of Junee. The name Junee comes from a Wiradjuri word meaning frog. It is a popular destination for tourists, boasting quaint shops, restaurants, and the famous Roundhouse Railway Museum. What Junee is best known for, however, is quite a bit more dark and mysterious. Junee is home to the most haunted house in Australia. In today's episode, we look into the Monte Cristo Homestead. "21-year-old Christopher William Crawley and 20-year-old Elizabeth Carr were married on September 22, 1862. The couple built and ran a hotel in the town of Junee. At that time, Junee was nothing more than a collection of a few shops where surrounding farmers would come and pick up supplies. Business at the hotel was nearly non-existent the first few years, and the couple barely managed to get by. Then, in 1878, either due to incredible foresight on the part of Christopher Crawley or by sheer luck, the Great Southern Railway opened and included a stop in Junee. The town of Junee prospered and experienced rapid growth. Christopher and Elizabeth Crawley became very wealthy. In 1885, the couple constructed the Monte Cristo Homestead on a hill overlooking the town. The two-story Victorian-style manor had become the social center of the area. The Crawleys hosted balls and parties at Monte Cristo, and the couple invited neighbors to come and enjoy the tennis courts and golf course they had built on the property. Christopher and Elizabeth Crawley were a very religious couple. They were extremely devout Roman Catholics and donated a significant amount of land to the church. They also donated money to help finance the construction of St. Joseph's Church. Christopher and Elizabeth Crawley had 7 children, 4 girls and 3 boys. Tragically, the couple's 10-month-old daughter, Ethel, was killed when the nanny dropped the child down the stairs. The nanny claimed that an unseen force pushed the child out of her arms. Early one summer afternoon, a young maid who had only recently been hired by the Crawleys was tasked with cleaning the second-floor balcony. The young maid was using a step stool to clean the dust that had accumulated along the edge of the overhang. Unfortunately, the maid lost her balance and fell to her death, her body landing on the steps leading up to the front door. It turned out the maid was 5 months pregnant. The other servants used bleach to clean the maid's blood off of the steps. Those bleach stains are still visible to this day. Robert Thomas was a close childhood friend of Christopher Crawley. Robert had made arrangements for his young wife Emma to stay at the Monte Cristo Homestead during the last 3 months of her pregnancy. Emma was given a second-floor bedroom to stay in. Several days after moving into her room, Emma went into premature labor. Tragically, due to complications from childbirth, Emma did not survive. A young boy named Morris worked as a stable boy at the Monte Cristo Homestead. His job was to keep the horses groomed and fed and to keep the stables clean. Morris slept in an open stall at the far end of the stable on a bed of straw. One morning, Morris felt ill and was unable to work. When the foreman found Morris still in bed, he yelled at the boy to get up and to clean the stables. The boy told the foreman that he was feeling ill and that he would get up and clean the stables after he was feeling better. The foreman left the boy alone and left to do his own work. When the foreman returned several hours later, he found the stable wasn't cleaned and that the boy was still in bed. This angered the foreman, who thought the boy was being lazy and was faking his illness. The foreman then set fire to Morris's bed to get him up and moving. Tragically, Morris was too weak to get up and was burned alive. Mary had been working as a housekeeper for the Monte Cristo Homestead for several years when she gave birth to her son Harold. Harold was born with mental disabilities and began to exhibit violent and erratic behavior. As Harold grew a bit older, he became increasingly difficult to manage. Harold ended up being chained to the wall of the groundskeeper's cottage. He remained chained to the wall for the next 30 years. Mary would visit her son twice a day and bring him his meals. Harold would often be heard rattling his chains and would growl and howl. After Mary's death, her son was placed in an insane asylum where he too died soon after. Christopher Crawley always wore stiff, heavily starched collars on his shirts. Some have said Elizabeth insisted on this. In 1910, the stiff collars caused a boil to form on Christopher's neck. Crawley continued to wear the stiff collars, which irritated the boil. This caused the wound to become infected. Christopher Crawley died at the age of 69 from blood poisoning caused by the infection. Elizabeth Crawley was devastated by the loss of her husband. Every single day for the rest of her life, Elizabeth wore a black lace dress and a black lace hat. From that day on, Elizabeth Crawley refused to leave the house. She had become a recluse. Elizabeth had a chapel built on the second floor of the house, and she prayed and read the Bible daily. This continued until her death on August 12, 1933. Elizabeth Crawley was 92 years old. After Elizabeth Crawley's death in 1933, the house remained vacant for the next 30 years. During that time, the house had become derelict and had fallen into disrepair. In 1963, Olive and Reg Ryan purchased the Monte Cristo Homestead property. By this time, the once grand house was nothing more than an empty shell. The couple immediately set out to restore the house to its former glory. The house and grounds of the Monte Cristo Homestead are reported to be the most haunted in all of Australia. People have often reported hearing chains rattling and the voice of a young man howling near the groundskeeper's cottage. This is believed to be the ghost of Harold, a mentally disabled boy who had been chained up for 30 years. It is said that the ghostly apparition of a young boy appears from time to time walking around the carriage house. The boy often appears sad and sometimes manifests with a severely burned and scarred face. This is believed to be the ghost of Morris, the stable boy who died in the fire set by the foreman. Guests who stay the night at the Monte Cristo Homestead often report hearing the sound of children's laughter throughout the house and witness the ghostly apparition of a child near the stairs. There are also reported sightings of the ghost of Christopher Crawley being seen throughout the house. But by far, the most commonly reported sightings are of the spirit of Elizabeth Crawley. Guests often report hearing footsteps out on the balcony, accompanied by the sight of a ghostly figure of a woman dressed completely in black. There are numerous reports of faces peering into the house through second-floor windows. It is said that Elizabeth Crawley will make her presence known by the feel of a cold chill in the air. Current owner of the estate, Olive Ryan, reports that on several occasions she has felt a hand pressed down on her shoulder, only to find no one there. Reports of ghostly encounters have become so common that it has drawn the interest of numerous TV shows. The Monte Cristo Homestead has been featured on such shows as A Big Country in 1977, Getaway in 1992, Scream Test in 2000, Ghost Hunters International in 2010, and My Ghost Story in 2013. The Monte Cristo Homestead has also become a popular destination for vloggers and YouTubers to either uncover evidence of the supernatural or to test their own bravery. If you are interested in visiting the Monte Cristo Homestead yourself, general admission is $12. Dinner tours will cost you $125, and sleepovers that include dinner and breakfast will set you back $195. The cost of encountering a restless spirit? Priceless.